Hello, podcasters, and welcome to the ASU Sports and Entertainment Law Podcast. We are your hosts. My name is Kellen Bradley.
And I'm Johnny Sinodis.
We're from the Sports and Entertainment Law Journal at the ASU College of Law, Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law, at Arizona State University. We're going to bring you present to you some new legal issues in sports and entertainment law and hopefully provide you some decent analysis. Again, we must disclaim this is not legal advice.
No doubt.
So we're going to start off the podcast talking about this new Facebook issue that's going on. Why don't you tell us more about it, Johnny?
Yeah, apparently some attorneys are using Facebook as a tool in the jury selection process.
Voir dire.
Voir dire. And in fact, they're actually using iPads in the courtroom as they're questioning members of the jury and pulling whatever info those idiots don't have protected.
Are they, you sure they're not just playing Angry Birds while they're in the courthouse?
They could be playing Angry Birds. I wouldn't be surprised. But anyways, I just have a problem with the fact that we are legitimizing a very illegitimate means of communication, especially considering the barriers people hide behind when using internet, period, and especially when it comes to GChat or Facebook. People just kind of put up whoever they want to be as opposed to who they are. And I guess at some level it might show a lack of judgment, but I don't think a 19-year-old can properly be excluded or included in a jury from what he has or doesn't have on his Facebook.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I'm wondering what kind of stuff they're going to be looking for on someone's Facebook profile, Facebook info.
Who knows? I mean, people aren't educated enough to realize the type of things that can be pulled off Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I think socially, Facebook is not a great thing for us, especially when it comes down to dismantling tenets of our legal system. I mean, It just seems very unprofessional to be in the courtroom with an iPad.
And on Facebook.
Yeah.
And doing legal stuff. But then again, also, there's like a big divide also by what you can gather without actually being someone's permitted friend, too.
Yeah, I mean, there are privacy settings, and the people that have something to lose likely have their privacy settings set so that a lot of information can't be pulled. But I just found out today that I'm all over Google, and it's for things that I can't protect personally, such as groups I was in or phone numbers I gave out freshman year of college to people who lost their phones or had it, ruined by water.
Right.
And I was told that you can pull that type of information off Facebook, and I said, no, my privacy settings are legit. I'm completely protected, but not the case.
It
is extremely disconcerting because there's some weird people out there, and I mean, I would like for it to be harder for them to pull my personal information than it is to just type my name into Google.
Yeah, it goes back to what are our expectations of privacy, you know? Like, are we really expecting to have a lot of privacy and security, especially with the information that we share on the internet? As our expectations get lower and lower as things like Facebook and voir dire, jury selection process become, the law definitely follows that. So, I mean, if that trend continues, the privacy laws will probably get less and less stringent, and people are probably going to be able to pull more information with more ease. And that's ultimately what could happen. That's worst case scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think...
You gotta read this.
Hang on.
Really?
It's fine. Keep going.
I think in order for us to counteract what is happening with Facebook and it's being used as a legitimate tool, especially in the court system, we have to make some sort of social stance that isn't just going to happen. We're too far along, and I might just end up being a bitter buffalo, giving the middle finger to all these people who decide to use it anyways.
I like that, bitter buffalo.
Yeah.
My friend's actually on the legal team at Facebook, or I wouldn't say friend, maybe an acquaintance. He hasn't exactly confirmed my friend request on Facebook. Maybe that's something he's obliged to do in his position. But I really got to hand it to him because they have this great product and stuff, and I mean, they've been able to extrapolate success and as a value creation on so many boards that they probably never thought would be possible. I mean, who the heck thought maybe 5 years ago that Facebook would be used for jury selection. Who knows? Maybe it's actually really helpful. And also, but if they're going to do that, they need to maybe publicize that a little bit more so people get a little bit more weary about what they're sharing. And also, a lot of these settings are getting changed without people even being notified. There was another settings change that happened this week or last week.
It's completely bourgeois.
Yeah.
And you find out about it through the grapevines, and you have to uncheck some box that's checked for you and put your information out there unless you take steps to prohibit it.
The takeaway message is be savvy. Be savvy about your information. All right, moving on to the next subject. Last week, I wrote a pretty interesting, in my opinion, I thought it was fantastic, article about Jerry Jones and the NFL and this small little lawsuit that's taking
White House?
place. The White House?
The White House.
What is that?
I just found out that in the 90s, the Cowboys had a house they called the White House. And apparently that's where Michael Irvin took all of his women and they did mass amounts of cocaine. Apparently it's in a Cowboys book. I've never read it.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to hear about
Jerry
that.
Jones, I'm sure, had his hand in that.
Yeah, well, Jerry Jones definitely had his hand in the house that Jerry built, which is also known as the new Cowboys Stadium. One of the biggest stadiums in the United States, and it also was host and venue to Super Bowl 45. And what happened there was a great game, fantastic Packers victory, and once again for the NFC representing. But what happened was quite a tragedy for about 400 ticket holders who traveled, some of them all the way across the country, and showed up, and they found out that they didn't have seats. And so they were actually forced to either turn around and go home, go to a sports bar, or watch the game from TVs within the concourse of the stadium. So that's a definite epic fail on the part of Jerry Jones. And these people were turned around because they had a temporary seating structure built that day, the day of, or actually that they were working on it, the day of the Super Bowl. And the seats weren't ready. And this was all because of Jerry Jones's greed. Well, I say that in quotations, maybe not. He's just a businessman. Of trying to break the Super Bowl attendance record, which they probably would have done if they had this one section finished. But what they ended up was getting a lawsuit. Now they're getting a class action against them from all these ticket holders from all over the country.
Who will never, many of them probably never have a chance to go to a Super Bowl again.
Yeah, that's true. And so now this guy, Michael Avenatti, who's an attorney out of Los Angeles, is already filed a complaint against the NFL, Jerry Jones, and the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys, I got to hand it to them. They gave them some options. They wanted to recompensate $2,400 off the original price, which was below the average ticket price. So that was definitely insufficient at the very, very least. And then they upped that ante to tickets to any Super Bowl plus airfare and hotel costs. So that's a little bit better, and that hopefully will appease these very, very angry fans. And now we also found out that last week on Tuesday, the NFL went further by offering $5,000 or actual documented Super Bowl expenses, which is basically going to be the airfare, hotel costs, any food, all that stuff, which is a little bit better. So all this kind of winds down to Jerry Jones being totally, totally greedy and screwing up the Super Bowl for some people and, causing himself another mess once again. And nothing seems to change in Dallas.
But he's rich.
But he is filthy rich. And if you've ever been to that stadium, it's pretty crazy because there's a TV that goes, was it 10-yard line to 10-yard line or something like that, 80 yards?
I've never been.
I want to get there eventually. But when I do get there, hopefully I'll have a seat. Next topic, ESPN and their supposedly unedited letters from athletes.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. Deadspin is actually becoming a very legit source, at least for me.
Yeah, Deadspin. He's talking about www.deadspin.com. It's a publication a la Huffington Post / Drudge Report, that type of thing.
All that. Anyways, ESPN, the magazine, claims to put out an unedited letter from players concerning player issues, and it's called Player Excised or Player X. Well, apparently those thieving gypsies over at ESPN aren't actually publishing the unedited letters, and one of the players who wrote for them recently sent his unedited letter to Deadspin.
An anonymous player, we might add.
An anonymous player, yes. And I'd have to say that, one, it's entertaining for sure, but two, ESPN has totally taken his letter out of context by publishing what they have. And I won't read the letter for you because
you can read some of the greatest hits. Those are some quality lines in there.
So this guy's an NBA player, and he basically talks about how Tiger's 15 women that he was allegedly hooking up with while married was no big deal, and that he knows plenty of people pulling that type of talent in that quantity with wives and girlfriends.
Yeah, but didn't he say the sword kind of cut both ways, that women were fooling around as well?
Yeah, he did. And at one point he actually suggested that maybe wives and husbands should watch each other in the act with another partner. And for some reason, it might make your relationship stronger. Who knows?
Freudian philosophy I cannot wrap my head around.
Nor can I, but at the same time, I couldn't imagine getting married, so who knows?
Yeah, those divorce attorneys out there are licking their chops, hoping people take that to practice.
But he seems to suggest that we don't know the full story between any professional athlete breakup. For example, he brings up Tiger Woods and Ellen, and he questions whether she was not cheating on him too, because as an athlete, you're gone most of the time. You're not really seeing your wife. And as athletes will wander, so will their wives, because their significant other's not in the picture anymore.
Right. He also brought up the Steve Nash mess, which was it's been unfortunate to follow and pretty messy and ugly, but it can. And he said that Steve Nash was one of the most grounded guys in the NBA, that type of thing. So essentially, the takeaway message is that it can hit anybody.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of unfortunate because it's going to get blasted all over the press. It's going to be a bad reputation for players and thus the NBA and basketball altogether. Which that's just the way it is. You gotta be careful again about how you act and stuff, and who you're dealing with, especially with that, especially as a high-paid, athlete, recognized everywhere. They hold you to a higher standard, but what is the standard?
I think the standard is not to get married if you're a professional athlete and you think you'll cheat on your wife, because as he claims, everybody does. And he said that also 85% of marriages don't work for professional athletes, and I would probably say I agree with him. Yeah,
and we got to imagine also that the prenuptial agreement is probably pretty powerful between those marriages and unions.
Sign that prenup, son.
Yeah, that's the takeaway message. All right, moving on. We talked about in the last podcast. We hope to get that one up. We got a new webpage, www.sportsandentertainmentlawblog.com.
Check it.
We're going to have that podcast up just as soon as iTunes moves it through the queue. But we talked about Charlie Sheen and his, I guess you could just call it epicness. Epicness, is that a word?
His epicness and his ability to rant well.
Ability to rant well. Rantability.
Rantability.
We just made up two words, epicness and rantability. We're going to call Daniel Webster. Well, yeah, Charlie Sheen was on the Alex Jones show either yesterday or the day before. I'm not quite sure. And was mentioning and talked with Alex about his recent troubles with drugs, his run-ins with women, or how do he put it, goddesses?
Goddesses.
He was sadly attached to the terrestrial explanations of the women he's been dealing with, but the best description he could say was goddesses. And he posited or, asserted that he was 0 for 3 with marriage and that the scoreboard doesn't lie. And I guess what he was trying to get at is he has problems with relationships as well.
Yeah, and he said the one word that rhymes with winning is us. Referring to him and his stable of women.
Yeah, and perhaps attorneys as well, because he seems to be able to do no wrong. When he wakes up in the morning, he makes gold records. That's the bottom line. And he referred to his awesomeness even during naps, mind you. And also when he wakes up from these naps, when he's still awesome, he has to deal with fools and trolls and clowns who are ugly, have ugly wives, ugly children, and ugly lives. And they cannot process what is the awesomeness, or as we referred to earlier, epicness, that is Charlie Sheen. And this whole diatribe left Alex Jones, who, as you may know, is one of the biggest conspiracy theory experts, if you will, or if that is an oxymoron, I could be wrong.
I think it's an expert.
And left him speechless. And they kept referring to Apocalypse Now. That's when I kind of tuned out for fear of actually total hypnosis by Charlie Sheen's amazingness. Another new word there. But just stay tuned, because this has Dr. Drew written all over it, and there's bound to be a televised lawsuit in the works of epic proportions, all because of Charlie. And who's really getting hurt here? It's that 0.5 person, that 2.5 man, the half man, that poor child. He's got his contract, he's ready to show up and work, but I think according to Charlie, or because of Charlie, that whole show has been canceled. No more production for the rest of this year. No more $1.5 million an episode for Charlie, but he's still crying all the way to the bank. Yeah, so moving right along, there's a new awesome Radiohead album. What's going on with that, Johnny?
Radiohead announced about 2 weeks ago that they would release an album the following Saturday, and then, as they are prone to do, released it a day early and blew everyone's mind. If you haven't heard it, you should check it out. It's called The King of Limbs.
Do you have a sample we could play? Or?
I could pull up samples, but I don't have good speakers here.
Are we talking about, what was it? I saw a video somebody put up
Lotus Flower.
Maybe he's like kind of wiggling around for like a really weird yoga tantric, almost like a kata, if you're familiar with kata.
No.
See, I practice Tung Sudo. It's the Korean form of martial arts, way of the hand.
I know a little bit about that.
And we do these katas, and it looked a little bit like he was performing a kata there, but then it soon turned into what I thought was sort of maybe like a epileptic episode.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, the track was really good.
The track is fantastic. Mm-hmm. The album itself is amazing, too, and it's only 37 minutes long. Mm-hmm. An interesting note that was brought to my attention is that apparently Fox News is trying to act as if they can connect with Radiohead's music.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure if you search Fox News Radiohead on YouTube, you'll find the clip, and it's just terribly awkward from what I hear. And I'm sure that it is, because I could not imagine any Fox analyst getting down with Radiohead and actually appreciating the music, but who knows?
Yeah, maybe that's a step in the new direction, or what, in my opinion, would be some genius marketing if you could establish any type of curiosity from anyone other than their normal viewership.
Perhaps. Maybe the stars are aligning and 2012 is the year we die.
Well, when Fox News starts promoting Radiohead, that's...
Fox News also needs to learn how to find Egypt on the map, because they thought it was Iraq last week. That's been well publicized, but just a little nugget for your noggin.
Yeah. What's next? Locusts from the sky, right?
Locusts from the sky.
Pestilence. All right, well, that's going to wrap things up for the podcast this week, folks. Thank you for joining us on Casual Friday. And again, this is not legal advice, and we want to thank you for joining the ASU Sports Entertainment Law Podcast. Big shout out to the Sports Entertainment Law Journal for keeping it fresh with new ideas and latest analysis on sports entertainment issues. Please tune in next week. Check out our blog at www.sportsandentertainmentlawblog.com. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Thanks
I'd also like to give a big shout out to Beating Desert and Go Bonkers. Their monthly shows tonight, throwing down some fresh beats, and Coma's on the deck, son.
Is that tonight?
Tonight.
That's tonight. Where at?
9:10 live. 9 o'clock, doors open, $2 Towelboy PBRs.
And $2 kilt lifters, right?
And $2 kilt lifters.
You cannot beat that.
No.
With a long stick.
Nope. Free live music, free live art. We also got some gem and minerals for sale in the backyard. That's no joke.
I'm a sucker for gem and mineral.
Yeah, I know. It's true. There's a Jam and Jam show in Tucson last week, and my friends bought up a ton of rocks. Actual rocks, and they will be reselling.
He's referring to jewelry.
Yeah, I really am referring to jewelry. And it'll be sold tonight. Stay tuned for more on the Go Bonkers, because next month we will have a fashion show. All y'all should come out.
Sounds good. All right, thanks, folks. We'll see you maybe at Go Bonkers. Tune in next week. Have a good weekend.